Hello. Yeah, and hey, if you guys can share this, or even write a post or something on TikTok and tag me in it so that people can find this, I'd really appreciate it. TikTok is funny, huh? Of course, this doesn't have the same filters, so I mean, you guys can see how crappy my skin looks. Yeah, I'm guessing the DICK sucker was on there and didn't like people knowing. I don't know how, part of the report was sex violence. I don't know how that's sex violence. If anything, it's what's the word? Fellatio. I don't think anything violent was involved. It might have been, but actually that's kind of telling. But yeah, if you guys can write a post, something, tag me in it on TikTok, let people know that we're here so that they can get over here, that'd be great. Yeah, but also this makes me kind of concerned, if she was doing that. Now I'm certainly under the impression that there was violence involved. I don't know. But, okay. So, I'm gonna, quickly start from the very beginning, because it's my first time doing this on YouTube. And so, if people are only watching via YouTube, I want them to be able to kind of know the full story. Hey guys, thank you so much for coming in. So, on Monday, somebody was commenting on my posts, I think it was actually my videos that I had on there, telling me that Cindy's daughter, Brandy, had done a FB post claiming that there was a typo and that she just confirmed it with the sheriff's department. Stephanie says, in my opinion, the daughter has something to do with their unalivings. I totally agree. Demon Soul Master, thank you so much for subbing. And okay, so somebody was commenting. It was it was Brandy's niece. She was letting me know that Brandy did a Facebook post saying that there was a typo, and the sheriff's department just confirmed it with her. I called the sheriff's department to find out if that was true. They were more concerned about me being a podcaster, even though I explained to them that I'm not a podcaster, and told me that they would not answer any of my questions, but they would answer any questions the family had. I also called the medical examiner's office. Well, I put in a new request with the medical examiner's office, and what's it called? And I also reached out to Misty Gypsy Deadly Darlings, because she was the podcaster, and I was just kind of blown away by the conversation I had with him. So she made a video where she was letting Captain DJ Smith know that she's actually the podcaster, and yeah, if you won't answer Danielle's questions, then you'll have to, I guess, answer all of our questions, or have to put up with all of us asking questions. And then she provided the phone number for the Davie County Sheriff's Department and encouraged people to reach out and ask. But he told me he would not answer a podcaster's questions, but he would answer the questions of family. Either later that day or the next day, somebody who is a family member of Greg's was commenting and let it be known that that the sheriff's department wouldn't answer her questions, and the Captain DJ Smith actually said to her, "Have you talked to Brandy?" Suggesting he's not gonna give her any information without her permission. So, But so what they're doing is, rather than informing Greg's next of kin of a change, rather than informing them that there was a typo, that they were going to reopen the case with the medical examiner's office, rather than adhering to typical HIPAA laws and processes, what did they do? No, they skipped all that and told Cindy's daughter Brandy. And now Greg's family needs her permission to be told anything. So TikTok just banned me because I was kind of trying to think of the different reasons for this. Does she have dirt on them? Is she paying them? Is she performing certain acts of fellatio that involve deep throating, among other things? And she must be good at it. That's all. But anyway, so I called the medical examiner's office. They were so confused as to why I put in another request. They looked at the history and they said, okay, let's see. Greg's case was closed and finalized, and we sent you those reports on October 23rd, 2024. I confirmed with her. It was absolutely closed and finalized, correct? And she said, absolutely, we would not have sent it to you otherwise. She then said that Cindy's case was closed and finalized on November 5th, and they emailed me on the same day. She was then very confused because no other documentation, no requests, no notification of any issue. But all she could see in there was that on May 6th of this year, May 6th, 2025, Greg's case was closed again. So I asked, what is the process for this? Would they fill out a request? Would they have to go to court? Like, how does this happen? But aren't they supposed to notify the family, the next of kin, if something like this happens? The woman she was nice. She was as helpful as she could be. She could not explain how any of this happened. So she gave me another couple of phone numbers to call. I reached out to them. They couldn't answer the questions. They also thought it was very strange. They did confirm for me that even if something like the BULLET is changed on a medical examiner report, it will not change the wound measurements on the autopsy report. And the wound measurements, I had it verified by an independent medical examiner, and they confirmed his wound measurements are consistent with the 22. So how do they do that? In there, too, you know, it said something like, you know, in the addendum, it said, this typo was confirmed with both law enforcement agencies involved. In that, they're referring to Iredell County Sheriff's Department and Davie County Sheriff's Department. Here's the issue with that. At no point was Davie County ever on the scene. They were never there. I spoke to people who were there that day, who were at the scene, who confirmed for me the only law enforcement present was Iredell County. Here's another interesting tidbit. It is known that people who work for a county, a town, or whatever, they look out for each other. They protect each other. They got each other's backs. It's kind of like the good old boys, right? The good old boy club. If you work for the county, like in any capacity, you kind of look out for each other. And it came to my attention that Cindy's daughter, Brandy's husband, Andy, is the supervisor of emergency medical services. Which means he calls the shot in kind of a lot of things involving emergency medical services, but also has contact with other counties in his like daily job dealings. So yeah, but so they did change page 2, the BULLET type. The wound measurements do not change, but also in the addendum on the last page, so like the summary, you know, where it says that, you know, the decedent was there as I found him, laying in front of a white Ford F-350. And then the autopsy report says laying behind the truck. Not only that, it wasn't a Ford 350, it was a Ford F-250. They didn't fix any of these other typographical errors. They just made that change, but again, it does not change the wound measurements. So, but then they also say in the original, you know, summary, it said there was a 22 GUN near Greg's right hand. This addendum is intended to correct that and say there was a 9mm 6 Sauer near Greg's right hand. Here's the problem with that. It never said that. It only said there was a GUN and a spent casing. Well, there was a GUN near Greg's right hand and a shell casing nearby. That's all it said. So they're correcting things that weren't even wrong. Which is so weird. Not only that, so I had put in my original request with Iredell County in October. They responded. It didn't take long. It was either like still in October or maybe early November. Then I put in another request. It might have been in November. It could have been December. Then they didn't respond to me for a while. Eventually, I made a video where I kind of called them out for that. You know, they responded the next day or like 2 days later. It was like right after that, they were like, oh, we're getting called out. Here, let's send her the report that she requested, right? But actually, they didn't send me anything. And the response, what they said was, we've sent you everything we have. There's nothing else. You have everything. That's all we had. Which is why it's so weird because I recently put in another request, and lo and behold, some kind of magic is working in Iredell and Davie counties, I guess. They found 16 pages that they sent me. Okay, 16 new pages. And do you want me to tell you what those new pages said? It said, one body was found face down. The other body was 20 feet from the other body face down. This tells me that two bodies were found 20 feet apart, both face down, which is weird because in Greg's reports, it says that he was on his right side. In Cindy's reports, it says that she was on her back. On her back, chest completely exposed. So, how is it that every report contradicts the other? And then now they've made even more contradiction in Greg's reports because now they've changed it from a 22 to a 9mm. But again, now that contradicts his autopsy report because the autopsy report measurements are consistent with a 22 caliber. And this was verified, confirmed with an independent medical examiner. Someone who cannot be pressured, who is not going to be a party to their corruption and whatever hold Cindy's daughter has over people. All right, I'm going to look at some of these comments. Gigi Petro said, if my parents were unalived, I would welcome any and all questions. I would not try to silence those who are trying to find out what happened to my loved ones. Gigi Petro, I totally agree, and that's why this is so weird. V said, something isn't right. Why does everyone have to be so shady? Dude, this is what I am saying. That is why this is all so weird. Voice for the Voiceless. Hey, everybody, had me yell. Hey, Voice for the Voiceless. Gigi Petro said, the fact that you go and correct a previously final report provides doubt as to the validity of the report. Right, and then the way they filled it out was so weird too. The person who signed it is a medical examiner trainer. That's the guy who signed it as the reviewer. That was dated February 24th or 25th, I think, 2025. And then Gina C. Jordan, the medical examiner for Iredell County, she re-signed the front page of the medical examiner report, didn't change the date. There's nothing, on the front about any kind of an addendum, any kind of changes being made. The only thing is that, like, 2-ish sentences at the end of the final page, this is addendum, where it's so confusing because they are mentioning things said in the original that they are correcting that was never said in the original. What in the actual hell is going on? Dude, if I knew. And then Gigi said, if Greg did it, I honestly don't see him leaving her lying there with her chest exposed, especially if he was right. But also here's another interesting bit. Ready? So the 2 GUNs that were found were 9mm. The 2 shell casings that were found were 9mm. The 2 wounds on Cindy are consistent with a 9mm. If their argument is all 3 pews were from a 9mm, then where is the 3rd casing? Because it makes sense in a way if Greg was unalived by a .22 caliber, if it was a .22 cal revolver, then it won't spit out a casing. If their argument is it was the same GUN for all 3, then where's that casing? And why is his wound so much smaller than either of Cindy's? And unless they're trying to say somehow the first pew to Cindy perhaps went through the left cheek, came out the left neck, ricocheted, did a twirl, came around to the front, and went into the chest. There's some kind of magic happening in Iredell counties and Davie County, I'm telling you. There's things that GUNs are capable of doing out there that I never could have imagined. I'll bet you people can read people's minds and have X-ray vision out there too. It sounds like there's a lot of magic. Yeah, I was doing a TikTok. I did a TikTok live last night where I talked about all of this. I had a guest on the panel who works for a medical examiner's office. That medical examiner reviewed all of the documentation involved in the case. That person confirmed that Cindy's wounds were consistent with a 9. They confirmed that Greg's single wound was consistent with that of a .22 caliber. That the trajectory does not make sense for a self-unaliving. And they also reviewed the new reports and shared that there are several indicators that this is fraudulent. But, again, when Greg's family reaches out to the sheriff's department to try to get any answers, they need to go through Brandy. Because HIPAA doesn't exist. Typical next of kin notification does not exist in Davie County. No, you need Brandy's permission. Yep. We need to get, like, NASA out there or something, because there's something in the air where things that are impossible anywhere else are possible in Iredell and Davie. Right. That, because Sarah said makes no sense. She was not his daughter. Exactly. She hated Greg. And here's what's interesting. So Cindy named her executor her son Josh. In her will, she listed as her beneficiaries the only people to have a claim to her estate. Her son Josh is number 1. Gregory, her husband, was number 2. And Kendall, her stepson, who she viewed as her son, was 3. Do you notice a name that's missing? Because those are the only 3. It's interesting to note also that Cindy's daughter Brandy had a similar dynamic with Cindy's second husband, Stephen Beaver. Despised him. And according to my sources who were close to the family, who were family, and also several people in the community who were longtime friends of the family, Brandy said, and I quote, "I didn't put up with all those years with Steve just to lose money that should be mine to Greg and Kendall." I shouldn't have said, and I quote, because that was absolutely a paraphrase. I don't the exact wording, but it was something to that effect. I didn't spend or put up with all those years with Steve just to lose money that's mine to Greg and Kendall. And this was before everything this was around the time that she found out they got married, because Brandy was fine with Greg up until she found out they got married. Actually, fun story. When everything happened with Steve Beaver, and I don't know the word for this when you attempt to take out your whole family. I'm gonna just call it familicide. His attempted familicide. He had written a note in there. He detailed that his plan was to first unalive his son, Josh. His son, Josh, didn't come home. He defied his father. He went to his girlfriend's house, and that's the only reason he's still alive today. Next on the list was he was going to unalive Cindy. He parked behind her to make it so that she couldn't get out of the driveway, and approached her car with a KNIFE in hand, and he STABB'd her leg. She was able to get out of the passenger side door and ran to a neighbor's house. That is when Steve got into his truck and drove away. At that point, the police had been notified they were in pursuit. There was a high-speed chase. That is when Stephen pulled out in front of a large truck, unaliving himself. He then was in the hospital on life support. When this happened, all right, you're not going to believe the next few words to come out of my mouth, so you might want to sit down for this. All right. Cindy's daughter Brandy called Greg and said, "Hey, can we hide out my mom? Can we hide Cindy at your house? Because we know she'll be safe with you." This happened. Okay, this happened. And that is where Cindy stayed. And then eventually Steve was taken off life support. It was only after they got married that there was an issue. And the comment or the statement was made to the effect of, "I didn't put up with Steve just to lose my money to Greg and Kendall." And that's why everything about this is so weird, okay? Because Josh is on that will, Greg is on that will, Kendall is on that will. And it's almost like things were set up a certain way, because in the law, when a person is responsible for unaliving somebody, if they were a beneficiary of anything, they lose that right. So do any of their heirs. But then the victim's family becomes entitled to the perpetrator's estate, superseding any heirs. Which means Cindy's executor, Josh, becomes eligible to inherit 100% of Cindy's estate and 100% of Gregory's estate. He becomes entitled to all of it. And rather than having him be the point of contact, they go to Brandy. Rather than going to Greg's next of kin, Greg's son, going to any member of Greg's family, they won't tell them a thing. But Brandy knows. They told Brandy. They told Brandy that Greg's, I don't know if that his case was reopened. It would have had to have been reopened. Again, there's no documentation for this. So they let her know that the case was reopened, that they made changes to it, and that it was reclosed. She was notified, and now Greg's family needs her permission to be informed of anything. Gigi, so I think it was more one of those things of, just that fear of like, oh my God, my husband just tried to kill me. Like, I think it was that, but also I think at the time they didn't know the full extent of his injuries or his status. So I don't think they even knew he was in the hospital on life support yet. But I'm telling you, this one person has so much conflict with so many other people, including her husband's family. So, yeah, she and her husband's family don't get along. And so she stopped allowing her husband to see his family. And actually, his father passed away. And it's weird because I could have sworn someone had told me that that she wouldn't allow him to visit his father when he was sick, when he was dying. And I guess she only allowed him to go to the funeral if, like, she went too. So yeah, he wasn't allowed to see his family. He wasn't allowed to see his father in his last moments. And she allowed him to go to the funeral with her. But there is just something up. There is just something up. Because how do you do that? How do you bypass HIPAA laws, next of kin notification procedures? And I've read through some of their stuff, the things that they're supposed to follow, the processes they're supposed to follow. They didn't do any of that. I talked to, again, the medical examiner's office, and they told me how things are supposed to go. And they couldn't answer any of my questions because none of that happened in Greg's case. None of the proper procedure, none of the documentation that's supposed to happen. So, and even though we're finding this out, right? Even though we are reporting on it, when any time you are reaching out and you are asking questions and you're trying to get answers and you're explaining, you can't get them anywhere else, and they keep referring you back to the local investigating agency, being Davie County, It's like, okay, dude, I just told you. They ignored typical procedure, HIPAA procedure, notifying of the next of kin. They didn't notify next of kin. They notified somebody who hated the decedent. They did that, but unfortunately, if we don't get louder about this, it's going to keep happening. It is going to keep happening. And they're going to get away with it. I don't want people to do anything illegal, harassing, anything like that. But I do need people to keep looking into this. I need people to keep doing their own independent verification of things. I need people to continue making phone calls and asking questions. Please, everybody watching, start Googling for the phone numbers of these places. Start calling them. Start asking questions. Put in your own Freedom of Information Act requests. Contact the Sheriff's Department and try to gain clarification on notification of next of kin. And hey, do you have any documentation that you actually did that? Continue to ask questions, because again, it's easy to ignore one person. It is not easy to ignore 100. Sarah, is Josh safe? Yeah, he lives in Colorado. He became a millionaire by doing online gaming. Also, his father was pretty rich, and he is, Cindy's executor of her estate, and her I don't want to say sole beneficiary, but because he right now Cindy's estate is suing Greg's estate. Technically, it's Josh, Greg, and Kendall are the only people on her will listed as beneficiaries, but they're trying to take all that away from Greg's son. I think it is interesting, though, that it is this any conflict that exists is this one person with all these people. And then the county where her husband is the supervisor of emergency medical services is bypassing typical procedure, typical HIPAA law. They're notifying her of everything. And now they're telling Greg's family they need her permission before they'll speak to them. This is unbelievable. And, if we're not getting louder about this, they're going to get away with it. Anybody who's watching, have any of you called? I know that I had put out a video earlier last week, with the phone number. Misty, Gypsy, Deadly Darlings did the same. Were any of you able to call? I don't see any comments coming in. Unless people just aren't commenting. I better get a sponsorship by Sprite. Let me see. Good. Sprite is a product of the Coca-Cola company. There's a chance. Okay? Only because I know PepsiCo is in cahoots with Josh, so. Sarah said, I haven't yet, but I will. Thank you, Sarah. Gigi said, he's at risk of it. Gigi asked how is Greg's son, did he lose his home? He is certainly at risk of it. That is, that's, so his house is in Greg's name. He's at risk. There's like 6 or 7 properties total that Josh is suing for exclusive ownership. He hasn't lost his home yet. You know, it's funny because I don't have any stake in this. But whenever I think about him losing his home, I get so emotional. Just because to work hard, save up money, go through all of this to create a family, a home, safety. And that one thing, putting it in your dad's name, and now you're at risk of losing it. In addition to everything, your father worked so hard to create for your future. Gigi said, I would think that is because Josh was made to believe that Greg Cindy. If the truth were to be revealed, I don't think Josh would try to take his home. And that's the thing that's so weird to me, is that Brandy hated Josh. Brandy hated Josh's dad, Stephen Beaver. And I don't know if right now what's happening, if Brandy's doing the same thing to Josh that she's clearly doing to the Davie County Sheriff's Department and to everybody else. I don't know. She has a hold on people. She gets them to ignore laws, ignore typical procedure. It makes no sense to me. Susan says, hey Danielle and all, sorry I'm very late, didn't get notification. I mean, honestly, the only reason I went live on YT is because someone did a thing on TikTok and got my live ended. Well, right. Which is why it's so baffling to me that no one in his family knew anything. But Brandy knew all about it. But also, so Greg's family member who's commenting on Misty Gypsy Deadly Darling's podcast, in the video that she made, that person said that you know, she was trying to ask questions at the medical examiner's office. She was trying to get answers from the sheriff's office. You know, she was going to be getting these records. Then they were really late about it. And then all of a sudden, the new reports received were changed. and proper procedure of notifying the next of kin that Greg's case was reopened, something was changed, and it was reclosed. They didn't do any of that. But they told Brandy. And now when Greg's family is asking questions, they won't answer them because they need Brandy's permission. Like, that makes me believe that the law, what is right, what is considered ethical practice, means nothing to these people. And I really am afraid that they are going to get away with it. We need to get louder. You can call somebody and say, hey, but like, this is the law. And if they tell you, nuh-uh, even though you know it is, they're not gonna fulfill your request or answer your question. But you can hire an attorney for $4,000. They can make that same phone call, and then maybe they will. $4,000 to get a question answered. So Gigi, Greg's son, from what I understand, is, the process of being in a lawsuit is like, every week trying to obtain some new form of documentation from somewhere and giving it to counsel. Not only that, being at risk of losing your home, trying to pick up as many double shifts as you possibly can. From what I've been told by his family members who are close to him and community members who are longtime close friends of the family, trying to work with these people every day. The way I really wish somebody at a federal level could go undercover in there and see what is happening. Because in no way is any of it legal or okay. He knows. From what I understand, he knows. Unfortunately, when you have a mortgage to pay and you want to keep your job, he can't be like publicly part of this. I have talked to other people who work there as well, who are not okay with what they are seeing happening. That's something too that DJ Smith doesn't know, okay? Captain DJ Smith. Nobody there likes him. Imagine just me, I'm just chilling at home, right? I get private messages sent to me by people who work under him. because they are so not okay with the things that they are seeing happening day to day, especially as it pertains to Gregory's son and the way that they treat him. The things that they do that are not legal in the slightest. The things they're doing to him, to others, I am like so... I'm gonna be honest, I get emotional about it, and that's part of the reason I don't even like talk about it. I also don't want to jeopardize anything for him, because so many people who work there with the Davie County Sheriff's Department have let me know that things just would not be good for him. So I wish I could tell you what I've been told by third parties of how they reacted to Greg's son, simply because I called and asked a question. I called and asked I can't. What we can do is, if people want to put in the comments their guesses of how they responded, what they responded to him, let's put some guesses in the comments, and if somebody gets it right, I will confirm. Do we have any guesses? Guys, I'm going to put the phone right here. I really hope my fan's not too loud for you. I'm going to kind of bib Bob to do something off camera that I don't know if I'm allowed to do on YouTube or not. So I'm going to bib Bob just to play it safe. Do we have any guesses? I don't know if I should do a poll. Oh, you know what? Let me do a poll. Oh, what did I do? This is so weird. Whoops. Did I just post this? Dang it. Drag here to end that. Okay. Start a poll. It looks like it's only letting me do yes or no. Alright. Wait. Bump. This is not cool. I hate this. Starting a poll, I can't put extra options in. I can't get rid of the yes or no. So guys, put guesses in the chat, because this is bananas that it won't let me start the poll, like do a normal poll the way I want to. I mean, I don't know. But the thing is that to do that, I might need some kind of a statement from next of kin people, because of certain things that would be might be challenging. And so it's more like they themselves would have to do it, but I don't think that person would do that because they need their job, and I don't think they would want to jeopardize. If they did that, the sheriff would find out, obviously, because they would receive whatever letter in response to that. Gigi, super de-duper close. Yeah, I can only add 2 options. This is so annoying. I really want to do one. All right, so I'm gonna put a couple of options out there verbally for you guys instead. Let me think of a few options. Okay, how about this? Ready? For option 1, we're gonna say nothing. For option 2, we're gonna say threatened to fire him. For option 3, we're gonna say arrested him. For option 4, we're gonna say hauled him in for interrogation and questioning for the day. Option 5, got all the other employees to harass and bully. And so let's pick from those options. What do you guys think? If I can remember, it was 1, nothing. 2, threatened to fire him. 3, arrested him. 4, hauled him in for questioning and interrogation for the day. And 5, encouraged the other employees to bully and harass. Which of those? All right, you're guessing all of the above except for 1. I'll give you a hint. It's not 1. And it is just one of the rest. Sarah Garcia, 4. Ding, ding, ding. Do you remember what 4 was? Can you let us know in the comments? Sarah and Gigi. Yeah. Yep. Yep. So I called to confirm the Facebook post Brandy wrote that her niece told me about, Ashlyn Dry. I called to just confirm her claim that it was a typo, and the Sheriff's Department confirmed it with her. And from my sources, his family, other people who work in the Sheriff's Department, and community members who are longtime friends of the family and just longtime community members in general told me about this. I'm not going to say like specifically like who or which of these sources, you know, told me, but there's a lot of people who work in the sheriff's department who do not like what is happening. They're not okay with it. They sure don't want it to happen to them someday. And they let me know. They let me know that because I called, I asked, is this correct? They refused to answer my question. According to comments left on Misty Gypsy Deadly Darling's video, a family member called and asked questions, and they refused to answer her. They referred her to Brandy. They need her permission to talk to Greg's family to answer any of their questions. And because that happens, I was informed by people who work for the sheriff's department. They hauled him in and interrogated him. Unbelievable. What a waste of taxpayer money. This is how they spend their time. I should have been a sheriff's department employee. I'd spend my whole shift just sitting on my ass at Krispy Kreme, just eating donuts. Because apparently it's okay to just do whatever the hell you want during the day, during your shift. You know, unbelievable. So when people question, you know, oh, well, why aren't we hearing from this person? This is why. It's funny because the stigma automatically attached to relatives of somebody who has been falsely accused of committing a crime, like the one they are accusing Greg of committing, all of a sudden, you know, you're no longer like one of us. Like you are now a rodent or an infestation. You know, like they treat people like they're less than in some way. And it's like this whole thing is baffling to me. Sarah, he works for the sheriff's department. So he saw from the beginning the lack of investigation occurring. He was, from what I understand, from what I was told by other employees of the sheriff's department, by family sources, and by community sources, he did ask questions in the beginning. Or, you know, I think he's even asked questions like a little bit here and there all along. They won't tell him a damn thing. He was vocal about being unhappy about the investigation. Completely closed him out to absolutely everything. And when they say, oh, they're willing to answer the family's questions, and Captain DJ Smith, if you're watching, I do want you to know, other people who work there, a lot of them see what is happening. They understand what's happening. They're not okay with it. They might not be telling you this verbally because they know you'll fire them, but they tell me what you're doing. They don't like that. They don't like you. They think you're corrupt, and you are. They come to me, they tell me about it. And now I'm sure Captain DJ Smith is going to hold himself a little inquest. He's probably going to have a day of it or a couple of days of it where he hauls people in one by one and interrogates them. But guess what? They're not going to tell you a damn thing. Because I'm an ordained minister. And that information was shared, could have been shared with me in the form of a confession. Could have been shared with me in the form of a confession where I was given permission to mention it. Generally speaking, and not assigning it to the individuals themselves who told me about it. So I'm not violating any kind of a HIPAA type of a thing or a oath sort of a thing. You guys violate your oath every day. Seems like every interaction you have with somebody is a violation of your oath to protect and serve. Susan said, I can't imagine if this was my parents. I'd push for full investigation. Too many inconsistencies. I'd want to know what really happened. It's too strange that Cindy's daughter doesn't want to know doesn't want the truth to come out. Yeah. Certainly makes you think that person might be involved in some way. And certainly seems like the authorities are allowing that to happen. They're allowing this to continue. They're perpetuating it. RC, I'd be willing to bet not much, nothing was looked into aside from it being Greg. Because that's what Brandy said from the start. She's the one who created the initial false narrative that then the news stations reported on. That was all very easy to confirm. Before everything was removed from Facebook and from other social media sites of Cindy's and Greg's. So that's the thing. It was easy breezy to confirm that all of the claims alleged by Cindy's daughter, who was the source to the news stations, were false. And actually, since I've been able to get my hands on more documentation, and actually right now, I actually have a lot of documentation that I cannot share publicly. I have a lot of documentation now that proves the allegations that she made were false. His name. Isn't that something, Gigi? There were a lot of what's it called? Like pictures for the county that had him in it, and then in the bottom where it says, like, you know, left to right or right to whatever, who each person is. And it did name him. There were a lot of Facebook posts with these things too on the Davie County Sheriff site. So there are a lot of things that, you know, I had seen with his name. I don't know if they've removed it since, but Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And a lot of people in the sheriff's department who have been reaching out to me have given me multiple examples of why they cannot speak out publicly. Why they're afraid to speak out publicly. You know what, Captain DJ Smith, if you're watching, a lot of people who were fired have reached out to me as well. And they let me know why they were fired. And they don't want to come forward because these people are in powerful positions. They can make your life super difficult. I have spoken to people who have told me things I could never imagine a sheriff's department doing in their attempts to harass, intimidate, control, and silence. It is unbelievable. There is whistleblower rights being violated. There is election fraud violations. Because a lot of the people who reached out to me, guess what? They were fired because they didn't vote for him to be the sheriff. And somehow he found out who they were and he fired them. So if we know they don't want people talking to me. They don't want people involved in this. Those people are not about to speak out publicly. That they've been messaging me all along, letting me know exactly what they're doing in there and how they're treating people and what their responses are. And some of the people that Captain DJ Smith trusts and tells other, I guess, more privileged communication with, those people who you trust, who you think like you, don't. Because they message me too. But because this is such a small group, I'm not revealing anything they've told me because it would out them. But I know what you're doing. And it's not right. It is not right. So, but the thing is that because all these people are so afraid to speak out, that they're going to keep getting away with it. They're going to keep being able to ignore the laws, ignore what they're supposed to do, just do whatever they want, violate HIPAA laws, only inform who they deem worthy of knowing, and give that person absolute power and control in determining who else they can share information with, even though they are not family of the decedent. So here's the thing, I've contacted the DOJ, I believe I contacted the Attorney General. I can't recall, though, specifically if I reached out to him. But what I'm going to say is, I get the feeling these people are all in the pockets. They're all the same corrupt. That's the thing. You make a call. Like, that's the thing. You make a call to somebody, and then you sit back and you wait, and you think to yourself, "Oh my God, are they about to contact them to try to get answers, or to inform them that I called and I'm asking questions just to let you know?" And a lot of the people I've called recently, I'm getting the feeling the minute they hang up from me, they're calling them and informing them that I'm asking questions. That now I'm going in this direction. But not only that, I've received information from several people that weird things are happening to their phones. Weird things are happening after sending certain communications. So they're getting notifications about other devices accessing their accounts, even though they don't have other devices accessing their accounts in terms of what they are using. I was also informed by people in the know that Davie County has that type of technological abilities where they can isolate a specific area and put in keywords so that if any of these words are spoken or typed via a device in the locality, they gain access. So it's been challenging because if I'm calling a county office, if I'm contacting a county citizen and I'm trying to share information, or they're giving me information, or they are suggesting, hey, reach out to this place or this place or this place. I reach out to that place. According to this information, the sheriff's department would automatically get a notification, and then they would gain access to that communication. So it's one of those things where it's like, they are trying to tighten things up to prevent people from accessing this information. They are kind of insidiously getting all of the information of the offices being contacted and the communications had in that area, and then they are able to kind of prevent it. So, if somebody says, oh, contact this office, you might be able to contact that office, and then they'll tell you, oh, yeah, we're going to look into that. We're going to give you a call right back. And then they have time to intervene and prevent that. And then you get a call back, actually, I'm sorry, we don't have that information. I'm like, yeah, that's funny. You had it last week. but today you don't have it and you can't share that with me. And last week you could, and the week before that you could. And when I was down there you could, but now you can't. I contacted ABC. I mean, I've tagged ABC. They haven't. This is one of those things where I almost feel like they need to be infiltrated. But it would be weird, because if they were to be infiltrated, those people could find themselves in a situation, because I don't know why I get the vibe that like they hold things over people. And that's the thing, is that when these people are in powerful positions, you can tell them, oh, well, that's not the law. But if they say, yeah, they're still not going to fulfill whatever it is you're requesting. And then they tell you, well, if you want a response, we need a signed court order from a judge from a courthouse of competent jurisdiction, something like that. Which means you need to go to a courthouse here in North Carolina with paperwork filled out by an attorney, which may take more than one court date. So, oh, by the way, Brandy thinks I live in Michigan. And so now I'm not going to talk about where I actually live anymore. And now I'm just going to talk about Michigan. I'm just going to stay here in Michigan and do Michigan things. And Brandy might be watching, so don't put in here where I'm actually from. All right? They go looking for me. I want them to be looking in Michigan. All the Michigan things. Yep. Unbelievable. Go back to Michigan, lady. Yeah. All right, I will. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do too. Of course, when I called the office of the medical examiner's office, who would have to have that documentation or some record of it, of what led to these changes, they got nothing. They got nothing. They got, Danielle made a request for this. She was sent it on this date. She made a request for this. She was sent it on this date. And then, meaning the case had to be closed and those reports had to be finalized. And then, bloop, March 6th of this year, 2025. March 5th or 6th, I think it was March 6th, 2025. Greg's case closed, report finalized. Nothing else. When I call, that's what I'm told. Sarah says, I'll come for a visit this summer and we can go to the lakes. Yes, we'll soak our feet. We'll soak our feet. What's it called? But my phone is now at a whopping 10%. I'm glad I was able to come over here to YT when I was reported on TikTok and lost access to lives. You know, from now on, if I'm on TT, I'm just going to refer to it as deep throating. that I suspect is going on there for certain people to be able to get access to things that they shouldn't be able to get access to. And that's why I'll never be able to get access, because I'm not just, no. So, but anyway, I might have to do any future lives here for a bit. We will see what happens. I don't know how long I'm banned. Maybe I'll need to create a new account. Something about, I don't know, Michigan Badass or Michigan Lady. Well, you know, I'll consult with ChatGPT. I'll see if ChatGPT's got any clever ideas. Thank you, Laura. I hope you have a great Saturday too. I'm gonna in a little bit start getting ready. Oh fuck, I need to start getting ready like now, because her appointment is at, I think, 1:30 today, and it's 11:30 now. Thank you guys so much for joining. When you're staying at cabin by Crystal Lake, if you go to Cherry Republic Factory, let me know and I'll send my order for you to pick it up. All right, I will see you guys next time. Thank you again so much for joining, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye.